Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're dialing in from. Welcome to this week's edition of Kowalah Wednesday webinars. And exciting and sad at the same time in that it's our last one before we break for Christmas and the holidays and reconvene in January. But over the last 7 weeks since we launched this series, it's been so wonderful to see so many different people joining, the different questions, and we're certainly getting a ton out of it as well as we keep on top of everything that is going on in the world of AI. If this is the first time that you've joined one of our Wednesday webinars, we'll go through a similar format where I'll spend the first maybe 20 or 30 minutes today talking about the main topic of the webinar, which today is about AI for leaders. Then we'll spend maybe 15 minutes talking about AI in the news, recent developments and launches that have happened in the previous 7 days. And there's some exciting stuff for us to talk about this week. And then we've got an opportunity for you to ask your questions, and I'll endeavor to answer them live as we go. That could be, how do I do this in ChatGPT? What is a Claude skill? What do you think about Gemini? And I've got a couple of questions that I'm going to pose based on conversations that I've been having with clients this week. So with that, let's dive in. As I mentioned, we're going to go through AI for leaders today. We're going to be talking about how you as a leader, a manager, a senior executive can be using AI for your own personal use and for your teams. We'll then dive into the AI in the news and then think about any questions that you would like to ask. Now, as in any Zoom webinar, you've got a Q&A panel, and I'll endeavor to keep my eyes on that to see any questions that pop up. You can also raise your hand as well if you're feeling brave and want to join and ask your question live. You don't have to wait until the end to ask questions. If you've got something, a question about something that I'm asking as we go through, then feel free to do that. So AI for leaders. This is something that we spend a lot of time talking to clients about. AI is it's a change enablement program. It's a behavior change, and it's about every single employee in the organization. But nothing more so than for our leaders to be able to think through how they are going to think about the business, to plan, to strategize, and then to coach and lead all of their individual teams. Let me give you a report that came out earlier this year in March. So in AI terms, that's a long time ago. But the results are so insightful. It was a bit of research that was done in Procter & Gamble. Now, if you had a shower this morning, you probably used a Procter & Gamble product. They're one of the largest CPG, consumer packaged goods companies in the world. And they brought together about 770 of their colleagues, some in the US, some in Europe. And they split them, some as individuals, some in teams. And some they gave AI to, which was ChatGPT 4.0 at the time. And some they did not give AI to. And they got them to work on real world tasks. So knowing what you know of Procter & Gamble, they make shampoos and soaps and nappies and all these different kinds of things. And so they got the teams to be working on real world tasks, coming up with campaigns, branding exercises. And they got a board of their managers and executives to blind score the results and the solutions and the ideas that these teams came up with. And so the executive team that was scoring had no idea whether it was an individual or a team, and they had no idea whether that individual or team had AI or not. It was just ranking the quality of the solutions. And the results are pretty outstanding. So what you can see on this first chart here is the standardized quality of the solutions that came from each group. So the benchmark is this dotted line at 0, and that is the individual with no AI. So an individual working on this branding exercise, the quality of the solution standardized at 0. Now, a team with no AI is the blue chart, and that has an increased level of quality. And of course, we'd expect that because two minds are better than one. Having these diverse perspectives, we're likely to come up with a better solution. But now, if you look at the yellow bar with an individual with AI, was perceived and scored to have higher quality than the team with no AI. And the team with AI in the sort of salmon pink, slightly ahead of that. So you might immediately gravitate to thinking, well, hang on, Charlie. Okay, we actually don't need lots of people anymore. We just need a few key individuals and we give them AI, and suddenly we're coming up with more quality solutions. Well, that chart doesn't tell the whole story. What they then looked at was to say, well, look, if we just take the top 10% of all of the solutions judged by this quality score, what percentage of each cohort's solutions made it directly into that top 10%? The benchmark again here is the individual with no AI is about 6% of their solutions made it straight into the top 10%. The team with no AI marginally higher, 7 or 8%, slightly lower in fact for the individual with AI, but it's the team with AI where 15% of their solutions made it straight into this top 10%. So we do need a diverse perspectives. We do need teams to be able to come up with these high quality solutions. So why might that be, this combination of both the team and AI? Well, this was an interesting graphic from that research. What you can see on the left is the individuals with no AI. And the slightly darker green shows the technicality of the solution from people that came from a commercial background. So maybe they came from branding or sales, marketing teams. And then the orange is from people that came from R&D, so more technical in their work. Maybe they worked in R&D or the factory, the technical teams. And what you see on the left is that with no AI, the background of the individual coming up with the solution determines the technicality of their solution. And this makes sense. If you go and ask someone from marketing, how do we sell more of this shampoo in Germany? They're more likely to come up with a different logo and a brand name because that's what they understand. If you go and ask someone in R&D, they're going to say, oh, right, well, we've done some research on the right type of compounds and the smell that is going to go into this shampoo, and we think we can adjust it for the German market. Now, on the right-hand side, this is where it gets super interesting. Individuals again, so no teams, but an individual with AI. And what you see is that it doesn't matter the background of the individual. The technicality of their solution coalesces around this sort of optimal solution. And in this case, it is more technical. So if we take that idea of the German shampoo, it doesn't matter if you work in the branding team, you're still more likely to gravitate towards changing the compound of that shampoo to fit maybe the smell that would work in the German market. So you're really seeing here that AI breaks down silos across your team and across your company. And the final chart I'll show you from this report is that it's not just about the company getting benefits. It's actually about the individuals themselves. So on the left-hand side here, you can see the increase in positive emotions by the team members as they were doing this exercise. Again, the individual with no AI is the benchmark, and you can see the team with AI by far the highest in terms of the increase in positive emotions as they were going through this work. And on the right, you can see the decrease in negative emotions. And again, the individual and the team with AI by far the highest in terms of the decrease in those negative emotions. Now think about the things that make you feel good in work or make you feel bad in work. Well, what makes you feel good is you're able to go fast, you're able to access information, you're able to be creative, and you're able to make progression. When we think about negative emotions, we think about, oh, I don't know the answer to that, and I don't know who the right person is to go and ask. And even if I found that person, maybe they're not available or I've got to wait for them. You feel constrained and hamstrung by what you're able to do. And AI really releases you from that. So I wanted to walk you through that report because as a leader of an organization, like this is important to know. If you give your people access to AI, you enable them, you teach them, you coach them, you give them permission to use it. Not only is the company going to come up with better quality of solutions, but you're going to have happier employees that stay longer. And yes, you're going to get the benefits of productivity gains, efficiency, but ultimately this is going to be your secret to winning in your market over the coming years. And what does that look like in terms of your organization over the coming years? Well, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you could pretty much have drawn an org chart for a company as a pyramid in the past. We've got a CEO up at the top, then we go to a smaller number of senior leaders and executives, then we go down to our middle management, and then we go down to our individual contributors that do the work. You can think of a consulting organization like an Accenture or Deloitte, and this is absolutely what the business model looks like. But what we're seeing is that when you start to give enabled, empowered individuals access to AI, actually, there's less requirement for the bottom two corners of this pyramid. When we think about those charts we were just looking at for the Procter and Gamble example, a small group of people or even an individual empowered with AI is able to get a lot of the work done without passing it on to an assistant or an associate and passing it off to someone to go and do some research or to write the documentation or to build the tests. Actually, they're able to just get it done themselves. And so we talk here at Kowalah about moving from a pyramid to a pentagon. And as a leader, you can start to think about the structure of your organization in 2026, 27 and beyond as how do we reconfigure our organization around this structure? This isn't necessarily about getting rid of those people that are in the bottom corners. It's about how do we elevate them as quickly as possible to being this highly powered AI-enabled individual that's working in the business. As an organization, we can grow our top line revenue, we can scale much faster, but without having to add on the corresponding headcount at the bottom of the pyramid. Now I'm going to talk about three ideas and bits of advice for you as a senior leader as you think about AI for yourself and for your teams going into 2026. Number one, start speaking to your computer. I'm going to show you a little bit of this as we move on through some of these demos, but I have just stopped typing. I genuinely just don't type anymore because I can speak way faster than I can type. And the tool that I use is a tool called Whisper Flow, WISPR-FLOW. And if you search for that, you can download it. It's a free download onto your Mac, onto your Windows machine. And what it enables you to do is wherever you put your cursor, that could be in an email, it could be on a text message in WhatsApp, it could be in ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. You literally hold down one key. On a Mac, it is your function button, and you just talk. And it will start building out the lists. It will put things in quotes. It will literally interpret the words that you have said, tidy them up, and put them into the nice formatted way that you would have typed it. Now, why this is important when we think about AI is that AI models thrive on context, on information. The more you can give it, the better it will do. And you will just find that you provide more information to these tools when you talk rather than typing. Now, the reason why I'm highlighting this now on the 17th of December, when we're coming up to Christmas, is there is a barrier to entry here. When I explain this and show it to people in our coaching sessions, they go, Yeah, there's no way I'm talking to my laptop. Definitely not if I'm in a, in a meeting room or I'm hot desking, I'm not going to do it. So I would encourage you over the holiday period, when you're at home, you haven't got some work, just practice. It doesn't have to be talking to ChatGPT or to Gemini. It could be just practicing writing a Google Doc. It could be practicing sending a text to someone. But just get into that feeling of what it's like to talk and see those words appear in front of you. I'm going to show you some demos of that in a moment. The next thing that I'm going to encourage you to do is thinking about the frameworks or the books or the templates that you use in your organization today to carry out your strategic thinking. Now, I'm a really big fan of this book, and we'll give you the link in the follow-up email. But this is a book called Playing to Win, and it is, in my mind, one of the best books on corporate strategy that there is. This is also a Procter and Gamble connection because A.G. Lafley, one of the authors, was the long-time, twice, I believe, CEO of Procter and Gamble, and then Roger Martin was his consulting sidekick. And over there, I believe decades of leading Procter and Gamble, they codified what their strategy or strategic thinking was. So let me just drop it back into ChatGPT here. And what I have built is a playing to win strategy coach. So if I just click on this button here, what is the playing to win framework? I've trained this custom GPT on the playing to win framework. And it knows that there are 5 cascading questions. What are those questions, Charlie? Well, great question. The 5 questions are, what is our winning aspiration? What is it that we're aiming for? Like, if we don't know what good looks like, how are we going to build a company strategy and align our team around that? Where are we going to play? So what geographical markets, what areas of the value chain, what industries, are we a product developer? Are we a reseller? All of these types of things. What's the playing field that we want to go and play on? Having defined those playing fields, how is it that we're going to win on each of those playing fields? What is it that's going to be uniquely us that is going to allow us to compete effectively? Having decided our where to play and how to win choices, then we need to understand what are our must-have capabilities? What do we need to have in place? Do we need factories? Do we need salespeople? Do we need systems? Do we need partners? What are the things that we need to have? And then finally, how are we going to manage this? What are the management systems that we need? Do we need OKRs? Do we need KPIs? Do we need technology systems that we're going to review our progress? What is it that is going to run this? And so that's obviously helpful in terms of understanding the framework. But what we've got here now, by teaching this GPT about playing to win, I've set it up to help me to run through these types of conversations. So one of the most important of those 5 questions is, where should we play and where not? And I'm able to come in here, ask this GPT to start to guide me through a structured workshop where I can answer these questions. Where to play is a set of choices about the arenas you'll compete in, and just as importantly, the arenas you will explicitly opt out of, so your strategy has focus. And then what this will do is guide me through some of these decisions. Quick diagnostic, answer these in bullets. What are your 3 to 6 most distinct customer segments today? Who buys, why they buy, how you reach them. Which 1 to 2 segments do you already win disproportionately? What's the biggest temptation? And so what I'm able to do as a leader is to start having a conversation about Kowalah, about our customers. It's going to get me to think through this where to play discussion. So I'm just going to show you very quickly what is happening behind here so that you can start to think about building your own custom GPTs that are going to bring the books and frameworks and templates that you use to life. All that is going on behind here, very simply, and I'm not going to go through it in detail because we've got a lot to get through, but is instructions of I want this thing to act as a creative coach and to guide me through the different parts of the playing to win framework, and we can help you to build these out. And that's pretty much it. Then I've given it some questions. If we wanted to, we could have loaded some files with a bit more information about the playing to win framework. But really, it's about just giving it a role, telling it a little bit about the playing to win framework, and asking it to ask me the questions. So those are GPTs, and I would really encourage you to be thinking about the books that are in your bookshelf and to start building some of those that are going to help you as you go through next year. Now, I'm going to move on to one step further on, which is about actually building out your own executive coach, about taking the frameworks, the templates, the guides that you use, and really bringing it to another level using a thing called Claude Skills. Now, I'm going to switch over now to sharing another part of my screen. So let me stop sharing. And I'm going to share this. And you can now see a thing called Kowalah Reserved. Now, you don't need to worry too much about what is going on here. It is a native desktop application that we have built. It runs on the Claude Agent SDK. So if you've used ChatGPT, Claude is like ChatGPT. It was in fact set up by a number of people that came out of OpenAI a while back. And their focus is very much on enterprise use cases. And the Claude Agent SDK provides a huge amount of additional functionality over the top of a GPT. So just to orientate you, on the left-hand side here, I have got a number of directories and files that sit on my laptop. So here is our go-to-market, and I've got our messaging framework. These are documents that are sitting on my laptop. Now, not only can I have a chat with it on the right-hand side here, but I've loaded it up with a load of skills. Now, skills are a part of the Claude ecosystem. And the best way of describing skills are a way of doing things. It allows me to document a way that I want to do something. So let me go to my CEO strategy toolkit here, which is one of the skills. Now, this skill describes that I want to come and have a chat with it, and I want it to help me as the CEO of Kowalah to define, update, and manage our corporate strategy. And I've given it a set of different references here. So I'm just going to show you this one here. Actually, that's not written very, very neatly. Let me go to this one here. So updating our operations. You are helping the CEO of Kowalah to update their operations context, the people, the finance, the legal. Your role is to read current operations files, ask different questions, and then you can go and update these various other files in our directory. Now, you don't need to worry too much about what goes into each of these. It's more the fact that when I was setting this up, I said that I want to do a monthly review. I want to do brain dumps of something that is on my mind. I want to update our product roadmap. And I've been able to use AI to determine exactly how I do those things and then document it in this skill. Okay, so that looks a bit complicated. What does it look like to use it? Well, look, I've got this playing to win strategy document, which has come through my own use of these skills. And it describes the 5 cascading questions that we just looked at. My winning aspiration, our where to play choices, our how to win choices, and so on. And I'm actually going through a process of updating and evolving our strategy. We were very much through this year focused in on ChatGPT, becoming ChatGPT enterprise specialists, and helping our customers to roll out ChatGPT enterprise to their companies. But we live in a multi-model world. Google with Gemini have made huge advances in the last few weeks with their releases of Gemini 3 Pro and Nano Banana. And Claude with the release of Skills and Opus 4.5, they've really dialed in to the enterprise use case. And so we need to readdress our where to play choices. So here we are. Again, this is me using Whisper Flow. Hey Koala, I want to do some work on our playing to win strategic choices. So can you use the CEO strategy toolkit to update our strategy? I want to take a look at our where to play and how to win choices because we're evolving from being a pure play focus on ChatGPT Enterprise to being a bit broader across Gemini rollouts, Claude rollouts, and really being dedicated to what is best for the customer rather than one specific vendor. So that's me talking. Of course, I'm not going to type all of that in. It doesn't matter if there's a few spelling errors. It doesn't matter because Claude understands it. Now, I mentioned the skill. It's now launching the CEO strategy toolkit. I can see you want to work on your playing to win strategy. Let me start by reading your current strategic priorities to understand where things stand today. Strategic priorities. It's gone and found that document. It's now read the update strategy reference in the skill. So I haven't told it what to go and look at. It is doing that on its own. Perfect. I can see you want to refine your where to play and how to win choices as you evolve from ChatGPT Enterprise into multi-vendor. Looking at your current strategy, you've made a deliberate bet on these lines. Let me start with a challenging question. What's actually changed that's making you rethink the ChatGPT only positioning? Are you losing deals because the prospects are committed? Blah, blah, blah. Are you existing? Okay, great. I can answer these questions. Yes, it's not necessarily that we're losing deals, but customers are coming to the table with previous commitments to Gemini, as an example, and they want to leverage their existing Google Workspace licenses, and that makes sense. In addition, on the Claude side, Claude is so focused in on the enterprise with things like Claude for Excel, Skills, the Agent SDK. We're able to build things for clients that we're just not able to do with the native ChatGPT platform. So this is about us ensuring that we can support customers regardless of where they're coming from. In terms of the market share data that we had, increasingly Gemini is taking market share from ChatGPT, and therefore we need to bear in mind that shift as the next year continues. And with Claude, although they've got a much smaller market share, they are 100% dialed into developers and enterprises. And so their market share in enterprise use cases is significant. Once again, using the voice, there's no way I would be typing my answers to that, but I'm able to talk to this almost like I'm speaking to an executive coach. And the tool knows my context. I'm not having to explain who Kowalah is. I'm not having to explain which is the right document to go to. So what have we got now? Excellent. This is market-driven strategic shift, not just FOMO. 3 clear signals. This is what I've told it. This is exactly the kind of signal that should trigger a where to play and how to win revision. You're not abandoning a working model. You're adapting before it becomes a constraint. Here's a strategic tension I want you to wrestle with. Your current positioning strength comes from your specialization. You're the #1 boutique for ChatGPT enterprise deployments. At least that's our vision. I'm not claiming that that's what we are today. That clarity creates sales credibility. Moving to multi-vendor introduces positioning complexity, delivery complexity, sales clarity loss. So here's my challenging question before we rewrite the strategy. Can you articulate a new how to win that's as sharp and defensible as the ChatGPT specialist positioning, but accommodates multi-vendor? What makes you distinctive? If it's not platform specialization, is it vendor neutral advisory? Is it change enablement expertise? Is it collective intelligence platform? Something else? Now, I'm not going to continue this conversation here because I really want to think about these challenging questions. What I think you can see here is that in just two questions that I've asked it, can you help me with this? This thing understands more about where we are today, the market we sit in, and our strategic thinking than I think I do. It's able to be a really detailed sparring partner for me because it knows so much. And this is what I'd really encourage you to be thinking about as you go through into 2026 is how do you have something like this that you can talk to as if it was a human, as if it was a coach, but you can chat to it at 1 in the morning, you can chat to it on a Sunday and just keep teaching it. My experience has been over the last few months of using this tool, the more that I talk to it, the more that it creates more documents off the back of our conversations, it is getting more and more dialed into our strategy, the frameworks I use, the books, the mentors, the podcasts I listen to. And it's something that I just could not live without. So I hope that has not confused you too much, but has more inspired you with what is possible for you as a leader as you're starting to think through your strategic thinking for next year. So with that, let me stop sharing again and jump back into our deck. Here we go. Share and share and present. Okay. So there we go. Kowalah Reserved, built on the Claude Agent SDK, your own personal executive coach. Now we're going to talk a little bit about AI in the news. This is our opportunity to look at anything that has happened in the past 7 days. And for those of you that have joined previous editions of our webinar, you will know that over the last 4 or 5 weeks, it has been release after release after release. And this week is no different. We talked last week about OpenAI having a code red. Code red had been called by Sam Altman, the CEO, because Gemini 3 Pro had raced straight to the top of the benchmarks. With Nano Banana, which is that Google's image generation, everyone is generating lovely images and sharing them online. And then a week after that, Anthropic launched Opus 4.5, which is just dominating the development story. And so they called a code red. We've got to do something to reclaim the lead. And what they released last week was ChatGPT 5.2. It was less than 30 days since they launched ChatGPT 5.1. And so this is definitely, I'm going to call it a rushed release, but it's uncommon to see a release come out so soon after. It seems to be, yes, a new version, but highly tuned around professional work tasks. And that was their messaging in the release. This is focused on work that professionals are doing. The benchmark that they talk about is called GDP Val, and it's a benchmark for human grade work. What they've got is a large bench of human specialists in various tasks, such as contract negotiation, procurement, sales tasks, engineering, scientific work. And what they do is they pass these tasks to ChatGPT, and then they send the responses to this bench of scorers is probably the best way I would say. And they also provide them with an answer to that question that has come from a bank of industry professionals. And the question is quite simple. Do you prefer the response that comes from ChatGPT to the one that has come from the human industry professional? And what you can see on this chart is with the previous version, well, it's one before, GPT-5 Thinking, it was a lower percentage, about 38.8%, that would say, I prefer the result that comes from the industry professional. And what we're seeing now in these charts is that we're now beating the expert level with ChatGPT 5.2 Thinking and Pro. So you're going to have to test this out and get a feeling for how this is reflected in your own work. But you're going to see much more improved use of Excel spreadsheets, much more improved use of Word documents and PowerPoints, and just a better grade of thinking around more complex tasks. So definitely check it out and see what you're finding. The second thing that I pulled out from the release notes was about the ability to retain memory over long context. So think about this in a human example. Let me say I'm asking you to work on quite a complex financial modeling exercise to plan out our 2026 forecast. Well, I'm going to give you lots of information about what we've done this year, how we've done financial modeling in previous years. Then maybe I'm going to provide you with some updates that come from an industry report. And the more and more I give to you, the harder it is for you to stay locked on to what the original task is. And certainly, AI models have suffered from that. The more you give to it, the harder it is for it to focus on the core objective. And what we're seeing in this chart is that GPT 5.2 thinking is maintaining that ability to focus on the task for a much longer time as the context window increases, as you can see on the x-axis at the bottom. So again, as you're doing more complex tasks, more multi-chat conversations, you're going to be able to see this improve. What do you need to do to get 5.2? Absolutely nothing. Depending on the model the plan you're on, every plan should now have this available in your context, in your model switcher at the top right. So when you go to ChatGPT, you're going to see 5.2 at the top instead of 5.1. My regular reminder to you that the default is auto. And the auto mode acts as a router and it directs your question to instant thinking or maybe to pro. But it will default to instant, which is a quick answer, but it is using a lower grade model. If you are doing anything that is involving strategic thinking about your business, financial modeling, forecasting, you should be using the thinking or even the pro model. Yes, they are going to take a longer amount of time, but you're going to trade that time for accuracy, and that is what you want when you're doing these deep strategic tasks. The next release, this came out last night, and they have upgraded their images model, and this is to compete with Google Gemini's Nano Banana, which has just been fantastic. The ChatGPT image model was just not there where it needed to be. So just before this conversation, well, let me just go over to ChatGPT and let me see if I can get this image. Okay, not that one. Hopefully my Wi-Fi is working. Okay. So I was just testing this out earlier. Can you create a 16 by 9 blog page image of a husband and wife skiing down a mountainside in Maribel, which was spelt wrong, heading towards a restaurant serving pizzas? So that was my prompt, and then we got this image here. Husband and wife skiing down to a restaurant serving pizzas in Maribel. And so it took all of my incorrect spellings, and what you're finding is that it is so much better at following detailed instructions. We've got the right format. We're in Maribel. We've got pizzas. We've got a husband and wife. So this is a massive improvement on where things were. Now, what's even better here is that you can now select an area. So I don't know if you can see here. I'm not going to do this, but I'm just now coloring in an area here. And that gives this little lasso, and then you can describe some edits. And that's exactly what I did. I said, can we make this guy's jacket green with a frog on the back? And I highlighted the guy in the blue jacket. So can we make this guy's jacket green with a frog on the back? And then this is what I got. So it has kept everything else exactly the same and really targeted change to the guy's jacket with a frog on the back. If I go back to these images here, and I'm going to flick between the two so you can see. So blue jacket, green jacket, blue jacket, green jacket, blue jacket, green jacket. And this is what they're really driving towards, is this high quality, high fidelity editing of images, but without, completely changing the rest of the image. What you'll also notice is a massive upgrade to the ability to handle text. You may have been creating images in ChatGPT before and, it hasn't spelt it correctly. It doesn't look quite correct. But here we've got wood-fired pizzas. And when we change the image, it's got it exactly the same. So you're going to find a huge increase in quality there. Think about this for blog articles. Think about this for, training material. Think about this for images that are going on your website. The only limit is going to be the creativity that you've got of coming up with the right prompts. Now, another one that I was testing out just before this was, could I give it information about Kowalah? And I uploaded the Kowalah logo. I said, I want to create a billboard poster that is on a London tube. And what I find quite interesting about this is thinking about the 3 dimensions of the bending of the tube tunnel and how it's attempted to do that. But again, we've got all of the spelling there, even though we've got 2 S's that are quite close together on a cross. But I'm really going to have some fun over the next few weeks of just playing around with this. And I think OpenAI have done a great job of getting themselves near the level of where Nano Banana is, enough that you don't need to be thinking about having a double, running different platforms to generate images. And so with that, I want to move to our exciting Q&A panel. Let me move across. What am I doing here? There we go, to live Q&A. Now, I will keep an eye on whether we've got any questions coming through, but do not worry if not, because I have got a couple that I want to talk through anyway. But if you've got a question, go to the Q&A panel at the top and I'll keep an eye on it. The big question that is coming up at the moment is, we're the 17th of December. We're coming to the end of the year. What do we think 2026 holds? And there's 3 things really that I'm thinking about: models, agents, and the enterprise. And so let me cover those individually. We've just talked about how many models have been released in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And if we go back to the 17th of December last year, we were ChatGPT 4.0. I think we'd just had the first reasoning models from ChatGPT 0.1, maybe 0.1 Pro had just been launched. Maybe Gemini was probably at 2.5, maybe. Claude maybe in 3. We're back in the ages. We had barely had shared projects, Canvas, these kinds of things. So a huge amount has happened in the models and their power. And I only expect that to continue, so that by the time we hit this point next year, these models are going to be at a level that is just beyond what we can comprehend. And certainly for the vast majority of work use cases, the models are already powerful enough. So it's just about speed and the capability that they've got. The second thing that I predict is just the continued evolution and introduction of agents into the work that you are doing. So just as a reminder, what is an agent? An agent is an AI capability that has been given access to tools. And so those tools could be, writing documents, updating systems, pulling in information from elsewhere. It's got access to tools and it's able to pick and choose when to use those tools. That is what's called agentic. It's got the ability to pick and choose what tools. And so when we were looking at Kowalah Reserved a minute ago, built on the Claude Agent SDK, it was able to pick and choose what tools to use. I'm going to use this skill. I'm going to read that document. I'm going to update that document. That is an agent. And we're going to see more and more of that, both for individuals and companies to be able to use. And then finally, just this focus on the enterprise. I know we were looking there at some fun things of making a skiing image. There are lots of the things that you will see being advertised as more consumer related. Here's a funny image, here's a funny video, here's something that you can do with, with voice. These are fun and they're easy for people to understand because even if you're a company, you're an individual and you can understand how to make a photo and have some fun with your friends or family. But more and more, we're going to see companies, especially companies like Anthropic, drill into enterprise use cases. How do we start to transform some of these enterprise use cases and move those workloads to agents instead of employing those people at the bottom of the pyramid? A couple of other questions that I've got down here. What should I play with over the holidays? I thought this was a really good question. Definitely Whisper Flow. Do get a copy of Whisper Flow and download it and have a few practices of talking to your own laptop. That means when you come back to work in the new year, you're going to feel a bit more confident about talking to models, just like I am. Definitely do that. I would definitely spend a bit more time trying some different models. If you use Copilot at work, get a Claude account. If you use Gemini, try ChatGPT. If you've been using ChatGPT, try Gemini. Get a feel for different tools that are going to be helpful and useful to you to expand your knowledge about what is possible. And then the third and final question that I had written down was just about how do I get my family using AI over the holidays. I think this is something that is so powerful for any of us that are in work and using AI at the moment. I've got 4 children. They're school age, and we spend a lot of time talking about how they can safely and sensibly be introducing ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude into the work that they are doing at school. Now, this is not about cheating. It is not about, oh, right, get Claude to write your dissertation or your essay. It is about how do you use these tools as a creative thinking partner. And this is where the responsibility from us as parents comes in, that it is not just give them the tool, let them get on with it, or just allow them to find it themselves and get on with it. I would encourage any parents to be spending time to sit down with their kids over the holidays and to be asking, what are you using? How are you using it? Can I help you to set up a project? Can I help you to reframe the instructions in that project to, instead of give me the answer, to help coach me through how to find the answer myself? This, I think, is a really impactful thing that we can do as parents of the next generation. So with that, I think I've got another question in here. Great. Thank you, Stuart. How did you load the book content into the coaching tool? Really good question on the GPTs. Let me dive back in here and go back to my GPTs. Let's go to this Koala. Let me go to the playing to win one and edit the GPT. So in this example, I have not given it a huge file of knowledge about that book because the first time that I come to create one of these GPTs, if I just go back into a normal chat, I would just ask, and so this is not in the GPT, this is just in ChatGPT. You do the same thing in Gemini, same thing in Claude. Can you tell me what you know about the book Playing to Win by A.G. Lafley and Roger Martin? Are you familiar with it? And this is exactly the question that I asked. And it is going to say, yeah, I know all about the book. And it's to do with P&G and it's how blah, 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 what it is. Procter and Gamble. Excellent. So this teaches me that I do not need to teach ChatGPT about this book. It already knows it. It's got it in its training knowledge. So I don't need to worry about getting the book and like copying out the chapters. It knows it. All I need to do is to provide the instructions of how I want it to interact with me. And that is where my effort goes into the GPT instructions to explain what it is that I want it to do. So hopefully that is helpful. So with that in mind, I don't see any other questions. We have come to time. Let me go back to our lovely deck here and wrap up to say, as I said at the start, we are taking a little break from the Wednesday webinar series whilst everyone spends time relaxing, downing tools, enjoying their festivities. We will be back in the first week of January on the Wednesday. You can register as always, and we'll remind you of the next ones. But thank you to everyone that has joined our Wednesday webinars over the past 7 or 8 weeks. And we look forward to seeing you in the new year.